Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today. SI UK Japan is now live with University of Brighton. Over to you, Hiroshi.
はい、本日は SIUK 主催の、ウェビナーにご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。本日のウェビナーの内容ですけれども、ブライトン大学でグラフィックデザインを学ぶというテーマで、ウェビナーを進めていきたいと思います。本日お話しいただくのは、ブライトン大学の、ギャビンさんに、お話をしていただきます。今日のプレゼンテーションですね、質問コーナーもございますので、もし質問がありましたら、チャットボックス等でご質問いただけたらと思います。それでは、早速ではございますが、始めていただきたいと思います。Could you please start your presentation, Gavin?
Yeah, sure. My name is Gavin Ambrose. I'm the academic program leader for visual communication at the University of Brighton. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about graphic design, a little bit about the offering that we have in terms of our courses. So let's see if this works. Sorry, having a little bit of a problem with my keyboard there, sorry. The graphic design courses are based at the Grand Parade campus. That's a picture of our campus in Brighton. It was founded in 1859 and it's what's called a split campus. So we have other campuses, but the predominant one where we teach graphic design is in the centre of Brighton. So I'm still having problems with my keyboard. Let me see if So we're in the heart of Brighton, and when you're considering where you're going to apply for your courses, I think it's worth considering the city that you're going to be in, because that's a big part of your studies. And we're located near London and relatively central to Europe, so we're on the edge of the bottom part of Britain. London's got a big population, Brighton's much smaller, but the London market, the London design market is one of the biggest in the world. A lot of our graduates will go on and work there. So within our campus, we've got a dynamic and vibrant space. It's very much a place to experiment. And it's a place to meet other students. We've got a suite of courses within the visual communication programme. There's two other programmes within the university. One's based around fashion and one's based around 3D. So within the visual communication programme, we've got undergraduate BA level, we've got graphic design, illustration, animation, games art, and design for digital media. I've slightly separated out printmaking because printmaking actually sits in another program, but we work closely with printmaking as well. And then we have a suite of MA courses, including graphic design, sequential illustration, and inclusive arts. So let's say I'm going to talk to you a little bit about graphic design. I'm going to show you some work from some of the students, so you can get a kind of flavour for what type of graphic design we do at Brighton. And you'll find that when you are applying for places and go into virtual tours, or when we come out of lockdown, go to real tours, different colleges have a different offering of the type of graphic design that they offer. So graphic design persuades, informs and educates. It's the use of graphic elements, drawing, text, image. They're the things that we use to convey ideas, concepts, emotions, political positions, etc. It's the branch of visual arts concerned with aesthetics, production of layout, typography, and all that encompasses in kind of visual communication. So it seeks to impose order, plan, purpose, to communicate data, information, ideas, and perhaps most importantly, feelings. Graphic design isn't a cold activity, it's very much a human activity. And the graphic designer is someone who's making sense of his or her own material and mediating it through these forms and codes of visual language. It's worth considering what's called house style. Lots of universities will have a particular style. They may be very rigid, they may be very corporate based. So the idea of a house style at Brighton, we like to think we have no house style. So all the students are individuals. We treat you very much as individuals, and we expect and understand that your work will be different. So within this presentation, I'll just show you some slides of work as well. I'm not going to explain the work, it's just so you can get a flavour for the kind of activities that we do. A lot of the courses at Brighton, particularly the graphic design and illustration course, can be charted back to the early days of the Bauhaus, which was an art school in Germany from 1919 to 1933. And it pioneered this, Joseph Albers there pioneered this thought of what's called purposeful play. So the idea that playing, experimenting becomes part of your education is very important to us. We continue that tradition today. So there's a photograph from some of our first year students last year. So our studios are very much about that kind of playfulness. It's very much about experimenting and trying things out. We also are very keen on the idea. How do I get rid of that? We're very much into the idea of collaboration. So you're just going to spare me because I don't know how to get rid of that thing on the front of my. Right, hopefully that's better. So we're very much into the idea of collaboration. We work with lots of different organisations and we run a lot of community engagement and live briefs. So the idea of real world problem solving. So here's a project that I did about 2 years ago now on a 200-metre hoarding, which is what goes around a building when it's being built. And every student submitted a single piece of work that we then pieced it back together into making these sort of forms of typography that ran the whole way along the kind of frontage. And it's very important for us that you get used to putting your work out there. We want you to show your work. We want you to engage with an audience. It's very much graphic design is very much about you producing something and showing it. Another example would be that we do a lot of kind of experimental printing. So here's a print workshop that we did using a steamroller, for instance. So we think of kind of graphic design in its broadest sense. I think it's worth you considering as well your kind of modes of work, how you think you're going to be working when you graduate, where you're hoping to go. A lot of graphic designers work as what's called freelancers. So you'll work for a company or direct for clients. But it's also the role of a graphic designer is very much about working with people. So as a graphic designer, you're often the central point and you will work with copywriters, animators, photographers, etc. And I think it's also worth considering what type of graphic design you want to go into and what the kind of key skills are that you need. I think personally that a graphic designer needs a wide skill set. You need to have an understanding of lots of different things, from everything from project planning right through to photography. But then you also need some narrow and deep skills. So you might be a specialist in typography or a specialist in coding. And some of those core skills could include motion graphics, typography, animation, art direction, image making, etc. So there's a whole set of skills that you may choose to go deeper into. And then there's also transferable skills. So some of the skills you will develop when you do a BA or an MA, they're transferable to any other industry that you wanted to go and work in. And we like to think that you become an adaptive, responsive, conceptual person. You become a problem solver, a collaborator, a communicator. And they're skills that can be used in lots of other industries, not just graphic design. So when I say understanding types of graphic design, I put this slide in here from a company called It's Nice That. And the students, the people that started this were students at the University of Brighton a number of years ago. And they look at graphic design. So if you're unsure about what type of graphic design you want to do, it's a good place to start. Just spend time looking at different types of graphic design. So course ethos, the kind of, how we think of ourselves as a course. We try and develop a sort of design practice underpinned by rigorous research and a design methodology. It's all about developing a personal approach to your work. It's about developing those transferable skills that I just spoke about so that you are employable. It's about gaining an understanding of the topography of the graphic design landscape. By that, I mean that graphic design is very, very varied, everything from packaging design right through to film animations. So you need to get an understanding of where you want to work so you can understand what you need to learn. We think that you need to be an entrepreneur and a creative thinker. And perhaps most importantly, it's just about being curious. It's about wanting to look. So I've showed you some pictures of our studio spaces within the university. We also have bookable spaces, printmaking, photography, seminars, tutorials, etc., and places where you can work independently. And the studio space is an important one because that is the kind of world of graphic design. We work in studios. You know, we don't work in offices as such. We work in much more creative spaces. So the studio is a place, as I said, for kind of playfulness and experimentation. We run a lot of what we call maker days. So we will engage with a particular type of printing technique or a piece of equipment. This book here is from an exhibition, from a workshop we did with the MA students in graphic design, just a one-day workshop using what's called a risograph, which is a kind of lo-fi printing technique. So you'll see within a day, the students will piece something together, bind it, make it, potentially even then send it out to prospective clients, friends, family, etc. One of the things I think that underpins graphic design is typographic practice. I think it's something that you really do need to kind of conquer and understand. So we spend a lot of time looking at fonts, drawing fonts, creating both digital and analog versions of those. And typography manifests itself into a lot of people's work. So you'll see there, showing you the kind of thing. We run a series of guest lectures. In COVID times, these have been online. In non-COVID times, we invite people in. So people come in and do a lecture. And they were people from industry, but from a wide range of industries. So we might have everyone from kind of copywriters to filmmakers to illustrators, graphic designers, artists, etc. It's about you sort of understanding how they got to where they are, what their journey was. So the BA Honours in Graphic Design, it's a full-time course, 3 years of study. We work closely with the BA Honours illustration. We encourage a wide range of approaches, and briefs and projects are intentionally broad and non-prescriptive. So I've given you there a breakdown of semester 1 and semester 2 years, year by year. So you can see, it starts off about you orientating yourself and ends up with this idea of personal expression. It's very important that you develop a way of expressing yourself. And within those semesters, we have what's called a personal project. And the personal project gets bigger and bigger until you get to year 3, second semester, where your personal project is pretty much all of your thing. And then it ends with an event or a show. And we run, sorry, I'm not feeling too good.
ちょっと今ですね、先生が退出されたようなので、またちょっと戻ってくるまで、この場で少しお待ちいただけますでしょうか。 ちょっとまだですね、戻ってこないようなので、もう少々お待ちくださいませ。
Hi, Hiroshi. I think Gavin will be joining us soon. He had some network issues.
Yeah.
So Liz is here. Hi, Liz. Yeah, she just connected. She's saying that he will be joining in another few minutes. So thank you all for staying with us. And please do post all your questions on the live chat box.
はい。先ほどのギャビン先生なんですけれども、あと数分、ちょっとネットワークに問題があってですね、ちょっと退出されたようなので、あと数分したら戻ってくるようなので、それまで少々お待ちくださいませ。で今日ですね、ご質問については、チャットボックスの方でご質問いただけますので、何か気になることありましたら、YouTube からご覧いただいている方は YouTube のチャットボックスから質問していただけます。で、Zoom でご覧いただいている方はですね、Zoom のチャットボックスからご質問いただけますので、ですね、何か気になることがあれば、チャットボックスの方にメッセージをお願いします。はい。それではですね、お待たせして申し訳ないんですけれども、もう少々お待ちいただけたらと思います。はい、ちょっと今戻ってきたかもしれませんので、もう少々お待ちくださいませ。Hello, are you Gavin? ちょっとですね、本日のプレゼンターのギャビン先生なんですけれども、先ほどちょっと数分前にですね、接続が悪くなってしまって、一旦ちょっと一時退出をされていらっしゃる状況です。なので、ちょっと数分したら戻ってくるということなので、申し訳ないんですけれども、もう少々お待ちいただけたらと思います。今入ってこられた、A という名前の方なんですけれども、今日の参加者の方でしょうか。もしよろしければお名前を、今メッセージいただきましてありがとうございます。はい。はいですね、ちょっと今、一時中断中ということなので、そのまま少々お待ちくださいませ。
Hi, Hiroshi.
Yes.
I think Gavin is not well. He just mailed the team that he will be not joining and continuing the seminar. So we can put this on an end, and we can forward the questions to the university representative later.
Okay. So this webinar is end now.
Thank you so much, students, for joining us today. Thank you, Liz.
はい、ですね、今日ご参加いただいた皆様、大変申し訳ないんですけれども、ですね、ちょっと先生の方がですね、また戻ってくるということはちょっとできないみたいなので、今日いただいたご質問については、こちらの方からですね、ブライトンのギャビン先生の方に問い合わせさせていただいて、またですね、後日ご連絡をさせていただきますので、ご了承いただけたらと思います。お時間いただいて、大変申し訳ございません。ではですね、本日のウェビナーはこれで終了させていただきたいと思います。Thank you very much for everyone joining today. Thank you. Deepika.